Right now, there's something on my mind. It's so troubling that I can't focus on my work. It's about what's inside my wife's cell phone. We've been married for 3 years, and neither my wife nor I have ever cheated, at least as far as I know. Maybe my wife has just been hiding it, but I believe she hasn't. And of course, I never have. We met when we were freshmen in college, and I confessed my feelings to her when we were sophomores. In our first year, we often hung out and went drinking with everyone. Talking to her, who was in that group, time and time again, I was drawn to various aspects of her, like her beautiful eyes, her attentiveness, the way I would cheer up no matter how down I was when I spoke to her, and the way she would reach out to me no matter how pathetic I was. I couldn't help but fall for her. It seemed like she was also interested in me, and surprisingly, she easily said okay. I was ready for a total defeat when I confessed my feelings, so I was genuinely overjoyed. We dated for 5 years just like that, and on her birthday that year, I proposed to her. My proposal went like this: I can't go on living without you. Will you marry me? I agonized over what to say until the day before, and those were the words I came up with. It might seem a little uncool, but for me, it was pretty well done. Upon hearing those words, she said,
I can't live without you either. Please take care of me too.
I remember how truly happy I was even now. Later, a little worried, I asked her, how were my proposal words? I thought about it quite a bit, but those were the only words that came to mind. It was uncool, wasn't it?
Yay, it might have been a little uncool, but the fact that you think about things like that so seriously is the coolest thing in the world. Besides, I really felt that you couldn't live without me. I was happy.
That was the kind of conversation we had. I was relieved, but I still muttered to myself inside, so it was uncool after all, and let my shoulders drop. Got a bit off topic, but this is a story from 3 years later. One day, I came home from work and said, as usual, I'm home, but there was no reply. What's going on? As I went inside, I found my wife was taking a bath. Normally, I'd get a reply of welcome home, but it couldn't be helped since she was in the bath. So I washed my hands and face, changed from my suit to my loungewear, and sat down on the sofa. Then I noticed my wife's cell phone, an old flip phone, left open on the table in front of the sofa. Curious why it was left open, I peeked inside without moving the phone and saw a whole screen of received emails. The screen showed only the sender and the subject of the emails, with an unfamiliar phone number as the sender, and subjects like I want to see you now, and today is the day we met, jumped out at me. Huh? What does this mean? I was so surprised I ended up muttering to myself. Just as I was about to take a closer look,
Oh, you're home? Welcome back. Should I start making dinner?
my wife's voice reached my ears. Feeling a mix of guilt for looking at my wife's phone and distrust from seeing a mysterious message likely from a man, I became a bit agitated but tried not to show it. Yeah, let's have dinner. Oh, but I think I'll take a bath first, I responded.
All right, I'll start cooking then.
She said with a smile. And there I was, pondering alone in the bath. Was the content of my wife's phone that I saw earlier a misinterpretation? It's been 3 years since we got married, so there's no reason for me to send emails. Could there really be another man? It's unlike my wife, but it still feels too early to conclude that. Without any solid evidence, I don't want to suspect my trustful wife. So I decided to believe my wife, thinking it must be some mistake. As I was thinking such thoughts in the bath, I started to feel lightheaded, so I stopped pondering about my wife and got out of the bath. Then I enjoyed a superbly delicious dinner made by my wife and enjoyed talking with her. Feeling somewhat relieved by my unchanged wife, I got a good rest to prepare for work the next day. And the next day, I'm not a morning person usually. My wife always has to shake me awake. However, today, for some reason, I was able to get up by myself. But the reason I was able to wake up seemed pretty obvious. It's probably because my mind was full of what I saw in my wife's cell phone yesterday. Even though I say I trust my wife, what bothers me still bothers me. Then my wife came into our room.
Good morning. This is rare. You wake up all by yourself. Breakfast is ready, so come once you're prepared,
She said and went back towards the living room. I wonder what she's thinking. I muttered to myself and got ready. I ate the usual delicious breakfast made by my wife and was swayed by the train heading to the company. The morning commuting rush is always crowded, and I have never been able to sit down. But today, I felt like standing. Even so, I was thinking about what I saw in my wife's cell phone yesterday. I let out a sigh. The people around me, who heard that sigh, I knew they directed angry glances at me. Surely, being sighed at on a crowded morning train is unpleasant. However, I didn't have the luxury to be concerned about such things at that moment. And safely arriving at the company, I started my work as usual. However, I couldn't concentrate on work, unable to shake the matter from my mind. Then, a supervisor came up and said,
"Hey, your hands have stopped. It's rare for you to slack off, isn't it?"
I'm sorry. I was just lost in thought. I wasn't slacking off per se. I replied in a fluster, but the supervisor, with a smile, said,
"It's okay. But if something is bothering you, I'm here to talk. Just let me know, okay?"
"Thank you," I said, and decided to invite the supervisor during the lunch break to talk about the issue at hand. The supervisor then confidently declared,
"That's definitely cheating. There's no doubt about it, speaking from my experience."
I was genuinely disheartened upon hearing those words. So, it is true then, were the only words that could come out. My mind went blank, and I completely lost the motivation to work in the afternoon. However, the supervisor, as if to boost my spirit, sternly said,
"Pull yourself together. This is exactly the time to focus on your work. If you channel your anger towards your work, it gets somewhat easier to manage."
I somehow felt a sense of resolution with those words and managed to work hard enough in the afternoon to make up for the morning's delays. Focusing on work wonderfully prevented my mind from wandering elsewhere. However, once work was over and it was time to go home, I was now amidst the crowded trains of the evening rush hour. Contemplating my next move, I reflected on the words my boss had shared with me at lunch. It was probably unquestionable. Therefore, I decided to act, committed to securing tangible evidence. I came home and, as always, announced, "I'm home," but yet again, there was no response. Just like yesterday, I changed out of my suit into loungewear and settled down on the sofa. There it was again, my wife's cell phone. Just like yesterday, left open as if it was deliberately placed to be seen by me. Before I realized it, my hand was reaching towards the cell phone. Turning my eyes to the screen, I saw the email inbox was open, filled mainly with trivial emails I had sent, such as notifying her that I was on my way home. However, at the bottom, there was a folder, inside which those particular emails were piled up. Those messages, all sweet nothings sent to my wife from that mysterious man, might have totaled around 100. The moment I saw it, anger surged through me. Emotionally charged, I confronted my wife as she came out of the bath. "Hey, what's this about? Have you been cheating on me? Who's this guy in the emails?" I said, raising my voice slightly. Then my wife did something surprising. After freezing with a puzzled look on her face, she burst into hearty laughter. I had braced myself for her to make a distressed face or for a tearful dramatic scene. But instead she said,
That's hilarious. Oh my, did you forget the emails you sent?"
Now it was my turn to be puzzled. I couldn't understand the meaning behind her words. However, when I calmed down and thought about it, I realized something. The email dates were old. I hadn't noticed at all. It was something so simple that I felt pathetic. I hadn't realized until my wife pointed it out, but the sender's phone number was from a mobile phone I used to use. While this was going on, my wife's phone battery dropped to 1 bar. She had been using the same mobile phone for many years, so presumably the battery had weakened. The reason the screen was left open was also because it was old and on the verge of breaking.
"You have to make sure it's properly closed, otherwise it stays open,"
she said. The reason she was always in the bath when I got home recently was merely that my return from work had been early and she hadn't finished her bath. So she explained. I suddenly lost all my strength and collapsed onto the sofa.
"What did you think? That I was cheating?"
My wife said playfully as she poked my cheek innocently. I replied, trying to change the subject, "I was just a bit surprised. By the way, isn't that phone already outdated? Are you planning to upgrade?" She responded,
"I don't want to lose those messages."
Feeling embarrassed about snooping for her phone, I apologized. "I'm sorry for looking at your phone without permission." My wife laughed and hugged me, saying,
There's no one else I'd rather have. Someone who can accept me for who I am.
Then she continued,
Hold me a little tighter. I can't live without you. On the other hand, with you, I can live. I've become that dependent on you. So, don't worry. Everything will be okay.
I returned her embrace and said, "Thank you. I feel the same way." On my next day off, I upgraded my wife's phone to the latest smartphone, entirely out of my own pocket. Initially, she was strongly against it. However, when I assured her that I could transfer her old messages to the new phone, she smiled and said,
In that case, maybe it's okay.
My wife struggled to get used to the new device. By the way, the cost of the smartphone came out of my allowance, as a gesture of apology for my earlier actions when I had looked through her phone without permission.